Hello, I'm back with Bill Nolan from the Alabama Elder Care Law Firm. Bill, welcome back. How are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. Very well. Bill, we're here to talk about wills and trusts. When people think about people passing, and we all hear about when someone we know or someone who a friend of ours knows passes, you sometimes feel they passed without doing anything. And people talk about that's usually when people start talking about, well, we really should do something. Um, what's the difference between a will and a trust?
Well, a will has to go through probate in order to work its magic. Many people want to avoid probate. Well, a will doesn't avoid probate, contrary to popular thinking. A will is a fast track through the probate process, but it very much has to go through probate in order to work its magic. A trust, though, avoids probate entirely. Many people like that. I'm a big fan of avoiding probate if I can. A trust can be wrapped up. The whole process can be wrapped up much quicker than with a will-based plan, and you can avoid creditors and you can avoid will challenges. Obviously, if you don't have a will. A trust can oftentimes be a much more efficient and certainly much more confidential way to wrap up an estate than a will would allow you to use or have.
Okay, and how would you tell what someone needs, whether it's a will or a trust?
A good lawyer would spend the first hour of time interviewing the client, just asking about what they have, what their goals are, what their aspirations are, what they'd like to accomplish, how they'd like to distribute their assets to children and grandchildren and charities. And from that information, the lawyer would be able to say, okay, on the one hand, this is what a will would allow you to accomplish. On the other hand, this is what a trust would allow you to accomplish. Which of those two options sounds better for you? And let the client make that decision.
Yeah, and it sometimes is counterintuitive, isn't it? Because sometimes people with a large amount of money and lots of investments and lots of properties just need a relatively simple will. But people with smaller estates might need a trust which is more complex because there might be a special needs child that needs to be looked after.
That's true. Or a child with substance abuse issues, or a child who's been married 5 times already, and might be married 5 or more times, and you don't want your inheritance to go to someone's ex down the road. So there's all sorts of ways that you can protect your kids and grandkids against their own poor decision making with a trust. Sure is.
Yeah, well, exactly. To protect them from their own poor decision making, but also people who might be predators,
Sure.
um, who target people like that.
Hmm.
Which should I put? I mean, I think we already kind of touched on it, but which which should I pick if I wanted to make sure that my child didn't go off and just buy a Range Rover and a speedboat?
Sure. Well, I think a trust would certainly be a better option in that regard. You can control an inheritance much longer and with much more detail that with a trust than you can with a will. A will is in probate. It may be in probate for a year or two, and after that, the estate would be closed out in general. But with a trust could be enforced for decades, and your successor trustee, whoever you appoint, has complete control over how the money would be distributed over that entire period. So, a trust would be a much better way to go if you wanted to exert control beyond the grave. And why wouldn't you? It's your money.
Sure, absolutely. And last question: are trusts just for rich people?
That's a great question, and it's a very common misconception. It's not so much the amount of your assets that would help you make that decision as the nature of your assets. Real estate outside of Alabama, a trust would always be better because you can avoid probate in that state as well as in Alabama with a trust. So anyone with a beach house, a house in the mountains, a farm somewhere else, a trust would always be better. Having a disabled child, having a child with substance abuse problems, always better. Second marriages, a trust might be much better than a will based plan because with a second marriage, each spouse wants to take care of their respective children. And a will just doesn't have the capacity easily to do that.
So, Bill, thanks very much for that. It was really useful. I'm sure that the viewers who are watching this will find all of that fascinating, and they should be doing something about it. They should be talking to you about either a will or a trust.
Happy to oblige, as they say.
Okay, Bill, thanks again. Take care.
My pleasure. Thank you.